Short answer type question: diversity of plants to plant tissue types. What do you mean by plant habit? Habit means the characteristic shape, size, and form of a plant species. Now, what do you mean by habitat of the plant? Habitat of the plant can be defined as their natural environment in which it is natural for them to grow and live. What is hydrophyte? Plants which grow near water or submerged under water are called hydrophytes. For example, Wolffia. What is hygrophyte? Plants which grow in moist and shady habitats are called hygrophyte. For example, ferns and certain grasses. What is halophytes? Plants which grow in saline soil or saline water are called halophytes. For example, Rhizophora. Halophytes are the plants which grow, which need high salty, which survive in salty conditions. What is mesophytes? Plants which prefer to grow in moderate water supply are known as mesophytes. For example, mango plant. Most of the plants which we grow are mesophytes. What is xerophytes? Plants which grow in xeric conditions. Xeric conditions are the conditions where the water availability is negligible. Those are called as xerophytes. For example, Opuntia, cactus, these all includes in the xerophytes. What is epiphyte? Plants which grow on trunk or branches of other plants are known as epiphytes. For example, an orchid growing on a mango plants. The epiphytes are the plants which grow on other plants. For example, an orchid growing on the mango plant. Name one parasitic plant: Cuscuta. What are ephemerals? Plants which complete their life cycle within a very short period, even before the approach of the actual dry condition, are known as ephemeral. For example, Arabidopsis. Ephemeral plants are those which have a very short period of lifespan. What do you mean by arborescent habitat? An arborescent habitat is a vegetative feature that describes a tree-like plant. Tree-like habitat which has a tree-like plant. These are known as a arborescent habitat. Difference between caudex and culm. Caudex are unbranched cylindrical stem with crown of leaves at the apex, and these are marked with scars of the fallen leaves. Those are known as a caudex. Unbranched cylindrical stem with crown of leaves at the apex and marked with the scars of the fallen leaves on their stem. For example, coconut. A culm, joint stem with solid nodes and hollow internodes. These are, for example, bamboo. What are lianas? Lianas are perennial climbers found in the deep forest. Perennial climbers, and these are the climbers, but which are perennial. Perennial matlab these are living for many years, right? And these are found in the deep forest. These are woody. For example, Tinospora. Difference between twiners and climbers. Twiners, they make coil around the upright support. Upright support, if they form any upright support, then they coil around that. Those are known as the twiners. And climbers, they are unable to coil around the support. Climbers are not these are unable to coil around the support. They usually climb up the support with the help of some clasping structures. Climbers example is beetle vine, and the twiners example is a lebleb. So they twiners coil around the upright support, but climbers are unable to coil around the support. They have some sort of clasping structures with the help of which they cling with them. Difference between creeper and runner. Creeper, these plants have weak, long, thin stem. Creepers. While in the runner, stem of those plants have long internodes. Now we're talking about the leaves of the creepers. Leaves and root arise from the nodes. In case of a runner, axillary bud arise from the nodes to form a real shoot and aerial roots. Example of creeper are mentha and cynodon, which have mainly on the root. Mentha, mint. Cynodon auxiliary bud arise from the nodes to form a real shoot and aerial roots. Cynodon. Difference between sucker and stolon: they arise from underground part of plant which grows obliquely upward and give rise to a new plant. This is also the same mentha. Suckers, they arise from the underground plant. पार्ट से जो ये अराइज होंगे अंडरग्राउंड, जो ग्राउंड के अंदर ही है वहीं से ये अराइज करेंगे, ऑब्लिकली ग्रो ऑब्लिकली अपवर्ड, ऑब्लिकली ऊपर की तरफ ग्रो करेंगे एंड गिव राइज टू अ न्यू प्लांट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल mentha. Stolon इनिशियली ग्रो अपवर्ड लाइक ऑर्डिनरी ब्रांचेस, जैसे ऑर्डिनरी ब्रांचेस ग्रो करती है ऐसे ही ऊपर की तरफ ग्रो करेंगी. देन आर्च डाउन टू डेवलप न्यू डॉटर प्लांट्स ऑन कमिंग इन कॉन्टेक्ट विद द सॉइल. जैसे ही सॉइल के कॉन्टेक्ट में आएंगे ये नया प्लांट बना देंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल स्ट्रॉबेरी. तो सर्कर्स क्या करेंगे, ये अराइज फ्रॉम अंडरग्राउंड पार्ट, ये अराइज ही जो इसके दूसरा पार्ट होगा वो अंडरग्राउंड पार्ट से ही अराइज होता है और फिर वो ऑब्लिकली ऊपर की तरफ आएगा और नया प्लांट यहाँ पे आपको देखने के लिए मिल जाएगा. दिस इज टेक्स प्लेस इन द सर्कल. इन द स्टोलॉन they initially grow like a new branches, ordinary branches, then that branch keep in contact with the soil and then they form a new plant. For example, strawberry forms a stolon. For example, give example of the offset Eichhornia water hyacinth, a famous example which is given in the NCERT also. What are polycarpic plants? Polycarpic plants are those perennial plants which bear fruits and flowers in a particular season for each year after attaining maturity. For example, coconut and mango. Coconut and mango are the plants which bear fruits year after year in a particular season after attaining maturity. Name the smallest angiosperm, that is the Wolfram. Name the tallest angiosperm, that is Eucalyptus. Name the largest angiosperm of India, Ficus bengalensis, which is also known as the banyan tree. What is canopy architecture? Canopy architecture means the overall profile of treetop, its shape, appearance and its formation. Everything is included in the canopy architecture. Overall profile of the treetop, its shape, appearance and its formation. What is vertical stratification? When different layers are formed by the different height of the plant in a plant community growing at a particular place, that is canopies, or canopies are formed, is known as a vertical stratification. A difference between limb and twig. A limb are basal, alder and leafless branch of the tree. Basal, alder and the leafless branch of the tree is known as a limb, while twig, upper, younger and the leaf bearing branches of the tree are known as a twig. What is sympodial branching? In sympodial branching, the main axis stops growing and later branches grow into long branches. In sympodial branching, the main axis stop growing and the later branches grow into the long branches. Mango tree shows sympodial branching. What is monopodial branching? In monopodial branching, the main trunk grows vertically upward and the branches came out later. Pinus show monopodial branching. What do you mean by meristem? Meristem is a group of immature cells that are capable of undergoing cell division. Who coined the term meristem? Nageli. What is intercalary meristem? Meristem that lies between the permanent tissue and detached from primary meristem due to formation of intermittent permanent tissue is called as intercalary meristem. So, once again, meristem that lies between the permanent tissues and detached from primary meristem due to the formation of intermittent permanent tissues is called as intercalary meristem. What is tissue? Tissue is a group of similar or dissimilar cells that are alike in origin, structure and function. अगर आप looking wise they may be similar or dissimilar, but in origin, structure and function they are similar. What is simple tissue? Tissue which are composed of only one type of cell are cells that are structurally and functionally similar are called as a simple permanent tissue. Examples include parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. What is complex tissue? Group of many types of cells having common origin and working together as a single unit is called a complex permanent tissue. Example includes xylem and the phloem. What is assimilatory parenchyma? Assimilatory parenchyma defined as a tissue which possesses chloroplast containing cells. What is annular chlorenchyma? Annular chlorenchyma is a type of a collenchyma tissue in which lumen is more or less circular in shape. It is reported by Duchenyi in 1945 in petiole of Nerium. Annular collenchyma, which tissues function as skeleton of the plant system, that is sclerenchyma. Difference between primary cell wall and secondary cell wall. Primary cell wall is laid inner to the middle lamella के अंदर primary cell wall, and secondary wall is laid in a primary wall. तो primary wall के भी अंदर कौन secondary wall. It is formed in younger growing cells. It is formed when the cell has stopped growing. It is capable of extension. Primary wall is capable of extension क्योंकि ये growing cell के अंदर है. तो growing cell या young cell तो अभी बढ़ेगा, ठीक है. But extensibility is usually absent in the secondary cell wall because it is formed in the cell which has stopped its growth. So that's why extensibility is not required. That's why it is absent. Primary cell wall is single layered and secondary cell wall is 3 or more layered. What is difference between sclerites and fibers? Sclerites and fiber both are the part of the sclerenchyma. Types of the sclerenchyma. Sclerites are broad while fibers are elongated. Sclerites have blunt end walls while fibers have tapering end walls. They may be branched or unbranched sclerites while fibers are unbranched. Sclerites are formed by the thickening of parenchyma, while fibers are originated from the meristematic cells. Sclerites example includes macrosclerites, osteosclerites. Fiber includes wood fiber, bast fiber. What is a bast fiber? Fibers of sclerenchyma associated with phloem are called as a bast fibers. So bast fibers are associated with the phloem. Give an example of surface fibers. Surface fiber are found in cotton and silk also, but cotton is a much more famous example. What is difference between tracheids and vessels? Tracheids and vessels both are the part of the xylem. What are the components of the xylem? So its differences. They have the comparatively narrow diameter tracheids, while vessels have a comparatively wide diameter. Tracheids have very few large pits. Vessels have numerous small pits. तो इक्वली हो जाता है. ट्रैकिड्स में बहुत सारे बहुत बड़े हैं बट बहुत कम है लार्ज पिट्स. वेसल्स के अंदर बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे से हैं. दे आर imperforated cells. They are perforated cells. Vessels are the perforated cells. Walls are more thickened. Walls are less thickened. Wide. What is the difference between simple and the bordered pit? A pit pair in which the diameter of the pit chamber and the diameter of the pit aperture are equal is called a simple pit, while the bordered pit is in which the pit chamber is over-arched by the cell wall, creating a large pit chamber and small pit aperture is called as a bordered pit. What is the difference between pit chamber and pit cavity? The end thickened area in the cell wall is called as a pit cavity. Cavity of the pit is called as a pit chamber. What is blind pit? When there is only one pit on either side of the middle lamina, then pit is called as a blind pit. What is torus? Swelling in the middle of the pit membrane is called as a torus. Pit membrane की middle में swelling is known as a torus. Then the pteridophyte which has vessels, Selaginella and Ecosystem has vessels. Otherwise, pteridophytes doesn't have vessels. Name a gymnosperm which has vessel. Netum. Also, gymnosperms also doesn't have vessels in general, but Netum has. What is a syncyte? Cells which is formed by the fusion of a cell is known as a syncyte. What is fiber tracheid? Fiber tracheid is an intermediate form between fiber and the normal tracheids. That's why it's called as a fiber tracheid. What is the difference between apotracheal and paratracheal parenchyma? Apotracheal parenchyma, if xylem parenchyma is not associated with the xylem vessel, then the parenchyma is called as a apotracheal. Apo means away. Apotracheal parenchyma. Paratracheal parenchyma, if xylem parenchyma is associated with xylem vessel, that parenchyma is known as a paratracheal parenchyma. What is the difference between axial and ray parenchyma? Both are the different types of the parenchyma. Parenchyma longitudinally along the long axis the called axial parenchyma, while the ray parenchyma arranged in the radial rows. That's why it's called the ray parenchyma. What is slime body? Slime body is a special type of phloem protein seen in sieve tubes. So slime body क्या होती है? Is a special type of phloem protein, and where it is seen? It is seen in the sieve tubes. That's it.